it's like, damn, we can't do nothing. You got people going over to Delaware trying to get, liquor and all this other stuff because everything was shut down. It's like, all right, damn. So you got stuff happening in Delaware now that usually wouldn't happen because all the Philly people in Delaware, and it's just like people felt like they was trapped. Like people felt like kind of like they, for lack of a better term, they was incarcerated, and then they had no place to go. They couldn't do anything, and like people not used to sitting at home with their thoughts. Like you're not used to sitting in the house with just shit.
Welcome to Travel Tuesday Happy Hour, where we interview dope people doing dope things from around the world. Today, we have an awesome young man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
What's going on, everybody? My name is George. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm in the process of moving to New York at the top of the new year. I just graduated with my MBA from St. George University in data analytics. I'm going into an internal consultant role in finance at Verizon in New Jersey. So I'm very excited for that going forward. So
that's awesome. So data analytics, I mean, you probably saw the writing on the wall a long time ago. It's like big data is everything, especially in the area you grew up, right? It's like everything's about selling your data, finding ways to make value out of your data. And so what got you really into like doing data analytics?
So I would say my time at Amazon. I used to work for Amazon as a manager, and like everything revolves around data. All the decisions is backed by data. So nothing they do is like for like the greater good of people. Is all like numbers, and they the biggest company in the world. So I see there's always positions being created for data purposes, like data scientists, data analysts, and I seen out the new wave going forward. So I figured why not jump in on there. I did the same thing in undergrad with supply chain. When I was in school, supply chain became a big thing, and I was like, me transfer from accounting to supply chain because I could see that wave is starting to come up next. So I'm all about finding the trend and then hopping on it before it becomes too popular. So that's why I just graduated with the MBA in data analytics.
That's dope. So what do you ultimately want to do with that?
So the thing, I know how to code things now, so I'm good with like Python and SQL and stuff like that. So that's always a skill I can have just in case I want to transition out of this job I'm in. The job I'm in now, I didn't expect to get. It was an internship that I applied for, and I applied for. It's called Business Excellence. So it had like data, finance, so all the other different things. And then I applied for a data intelligence one. I got the Business Excellence one, and that was just the one that led me in finance. But it's opportunities in my company to go from finance to data roles. And my team works with the data team as well, so I can get into that just in case I want to change fields. And it looks good in my resume. So my resume is very diverse, from like business to cosmetics production and now data. So in finance, so it makes sense.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I manage a large group of Black in tech, so I definitely might want to. I'm gonna reach out to you after this because I know a couple people that's gonna want to link up with you, primarily around what you do and your ability to tie in the data and the finance piece together. So that's dope. That's dope, and hopefully, that's something that you can definitely leverage to kind of grow our community, because that's the one thing that we don't understand. How is our data being used, and how can we use our own data to be able to build self-wealth, right? And I mean, hey, I'm always able to talk to you afterwards to kind of like, I'm just envisioning these great things that you can do, not just for for the world, but like within our community, because it's one thing to see people like you doing it and doing it well. We need these kids to see it too. You know what I mean? To see that there's more than just basketball and football and sports and the glitzy and glamoury things to do. You know what I mean? And look, there's money out here to be made. So that's amazing. That's amazing. And so where did you say you're originally from again?
Philadelphia, North Philadelphia.
Oh yeah. So making it out of North Philly, you ain't get no data science or finance education up in North Philly. Like,
No,
how did it feel leaving North Philly to go to school and realizing that things were not the same. Things aren't what the streets say it out to be.
So it was a little weird for me personally. I was the first male graduate in my family. So
Mm.
me and my cousin were the same age. We went to college around at the same time. So we graduated high school. He went to Villanova. I went to Penn State. And being from those environments and going up to a school like Penn State, it's like whoa, it's like a culture shock. Like it looked great on the landscape of things when you start to dive deeper into like um, some of the infrastructure of the buildings. You'll see like old racist undertones. Like you'll see my ex girlfriend dad was up there visiting me, and he seen like a swastika
Oh
engraved on
wow.
the wall, and he got so offended by it, rightfully so. But I didn't see it until he pointed it out. But my time at Penn State was great though. It was like a fresh air from home. Like I didn't have any like racial controversies up there, luckily. So me and my group of friends, we had a good time getting away from that Philadelphia lifestyle, having always be on guard and making sure you're in the right neighborhoods and not trying to get into no altercations. But to me, it was a good change of pace. It was the perfect distance from home, so I can go home whenever I felt like it to see my family. But um, it's all about me laying the foundation that we can leave Philadelphia to go somewhere. Like I'm leaving Philadelphia now to go to New York, and it's just like you know that's another stepping stone in my family that I'm trying that I'm breaking. So
Got you. So you talk about leaving Philly. Was going to school the first time you actually left Philly for a long period of time, or just leaving Philly in general?
yeah, that was the first time I left Philly for a long period of time. Other than like a few vacations here and there. But yeah, first time I left Philly. Second time I left Philly, I stayed in North Jersey for 3 months for a job training, and I came right back. And now it's just like the biggest move, like it's like a permanent move. So
Gotcha.
I'm excited for it. So,
Okay, so you mentioned vacations. Like, where did travel start for you? Like, was that something triggered by your parents that because these mean streets of North Philly, we got to get these kids out for the summer, or was it just opportunity arising and Mom Dukes and Pops was like, let's go?
my parents' situation a little unique. Both my parents are deceased, so it's kind of
Oh,
like
my
different.
goodness.
Yeah, my family's like a village that raised me, like my aunts and my grandma. So both sides of my family is pretty active in my childhood. So I think my first vacation, I was like 5 years old. I went on a Disney cruise. I don't remember,
Nice.
I don't remember much about it. I just remember like seeing Mickey, but that was like a Disney cruise I went on. After that, it was like a bunch of family reunions down Georgia, Augusta, Georgia, Florida, stuff like that. Um, and I went on a cruise. I was like 14. We went to Haiti, and that was like my first time actually experiencing like
That's where I'm
experiencing.
from. That's the home country there. That's the home country right there. So, tell people how amazing that country is. Look, you ain't gotta say because I told you to, but listen, man, it's different.
It was a great experience. I think I went to like the touristy parts though, because the cruise lines. I think it's like was it Lebanese?
Labadi.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think it was a good time. I definitely enjoyed it. They had like food for us and everything, like the native food and all that. It was great. Um, and I went to a few other countries. Went to like Cozumel, Mexico, St. Thomas, St. Martin.
Oh,
Um,
I could tell which cruise lines you was on. You was on Royal Caribbean. You was on Carnival. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? You was on a Disney cruise. Look, we took off. So we went. I took a cruise to Cuba, and one of the while we was on in the dock, it was this Disney cruise right next to us, and all you hear was kids screaming and hollering, and I was like, oh, I'm glad I'm not on that one right there. But I'm gonna let you go. Continue.
yeah, yeah. So we did that. That was a great time, and my first time traveling as an adult. So during my college career, we talked about college earlier. During my college career, I never did the spring break trips. I never was able to do that. My family never wanted me to go to like Miami with my friends. There was still something was going to happen because they wasn't around. So like, I could travel, but they had to be there type of thing. They wanted us to be under their guidance or whatever. So like going on the frat trips with the bros and all the other frats and all the AKAs and the reds, like
What's
that was
the bros? What's the bros? I don't know what the bros is. Well, what is that?
so I remember Omega South Opportunity Incorporated, new
Okay.
grad at Penn State, fall 13. So yeah, we like to have fun in our fraternity. So it's kind of road trips and traveling are like a big thing for us. And I never had the opportunity, partly because I had my process got a little delayed from back in the day. So by the time I got official letters, it was my senior year of college, and everybody else was just focused on graduating. But so after college, like my family took me on another cruise, and we went to some different ports, like Saint Tropez. Where else we go? And what else we go? It was just a lot of different. It was like a Norwegian cruise line, so they ports a little different. It was a good time though. I definitely enjoy like the atmosphere and the scenery. In 2016, I went on my first cruise without my family. It was a boys trip. Me and my cousin went on the boys trip, and
it was different.
It was a lot. The vibe was completely different, and
it was different. You ain't got to worry about the patriarch and matriarch looking over you. You guys are moving around in unison, like, all right, y'all like sharks in the water, trying to figure out, where the bait at. You know what I mean?
It was like 10 dudes, and we were the only dudes in the ship that was like, we had the whole ship, like, the girls was following us. Wherever we went, they went. It was just like, it felt like some kind of like Jay-Z Big Pimpin' video situation.
It be like that sometimes. It be like that.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that, but it was definitely a good time. I went to Aruba on that one. I went to Aruba, Turks and Caicos. What else? We went to St. Thomas again, St. Martin again.
Nice. I mean, people be sleeping on the cruise lines. Like, cruise is a cheat code to get into as many countries in the Caribbean as possible, and the Mediterranean. So, that kudos to you. So, what does traveling do for you?
Traveling gives me a new perspective. I like being amongst like different cultures. I went to diversity, been big my whole life. So after I graduated from grade school, I went to a very diverse high school. So I always been around different cultures. When I first got to Penn State, my first friends on campus was an Italian kid, a Russian kid, and an Indian kid, and that was our group. And I was like, all right, cool. Like that was that. And then I started hanging with more Black people, but that was diverse for me. Like they taught me some things about myself and their culture I'd never seen before. So being able to experience like these things firsthand, when I go to a country, I always talk to people and get their experience on like how it felt to live here, also how their views on America, and then like for instance, besides cruises, I did traveling. I went to Amsterdam, and I went to Bali as well.
Nice.
Yeah, that Bali trip was like a spiritual journey for me. It was like I went to like the temple, got all the pictures and all that. You get like a aura of peace around you. And
so let's talk about that real quick. Like, what was about Bali that made it feel spiritual?
So everybody go to it was like this tourist attraction called the temple. And we go to the temple and like you gotta walk up this mountain. It's like this mountain's high as hell. Walk up this mountain and you going through all of the different rituals. You gotta take your shoes off for certain things. You gotta put the shawl, the religious garments on to be able to get inside the temple. And it's just like you just listening to like the waterfall. And it's so much peace and quiet, and everybody just sitting there walking around with their family, taking pictures, looking at all the religious symbolisms, and then it's like a peaceful journey for everybody. And then once you leave, you just feel like that's it. And just like
Nice.
yeah, that was a great experience. Plus in Bali, everything is made fresh. Like the food is all fresh. They make juice from scratch. Like you ask for like pineapple juice, pineapple cranberry juice. They put in cranberries and pineapples in the blender and like adding like natural sugars to it to make it actual juice. So it's like everything is so made from scratch over there. It's like, oh wow, this is how we should be living in America. But everything,
For real. None
yeah.
of that high fructose syrup and artificial flavoring, right? So, what excites you about traveling? Like, what keeps you going? What's the one thing that you can say above all that says, when somebody brings a trip idea to you, you're like, all right, bet I'm with it.
Just the chance to see something new. Like I'm always like I draw inspiration from these places because being in your same environment can cause you to get stagnant. So like seeing something different is just like, oh wow, like it give you a brand new idea. It like sparks a creative vibe inside you and it gives you another sense of the world. Like you see a different side of
Mm.
the world. And like I know I know the world is bigger than just North Philadelphia, bigger than United States. Like I had trips planned before COVID that, I want to get back, but we don't know exactly how long it's going to take to actually, get everything back to normal. But I just find like it bring me to appreciate what I do have in America and also give me an outside perspective of like what other people are going through. And that's what I like about it. And it's like the scenery is just amazing. Like I'm one that like to see different pictures of scenery. I take all the different photos on my phone and like random like forest areas or like waterfalls and stuff like that because it's like I feel at peace when I'm around those type of things. So
That's amazing. So you mentioned two things. You mentioned feeling at peace, and you mentioned perspective. Coming from North Philly, where the um, the perception of the black man isn't that great, right? And not just being the black man, you are always looking over your shoulders, especially depending on the neighborhood you are in North Philly. You got your head on a swivel. As a black man traveling the world, now that you've seen places like Bali and even different cities, do you feel as though that the black man's treated the same everywhere, or do you find it that um, we're treated different, and that's also refreshing as to why Bali was so spiritual for you.
I was definitely different in Bali. They made me feel welcome. They called me they actually called me LeBron because I was one of the tallest people in around. But it was just like everybody was just so friendly, and we was amongst like the tourist locations, and we was amongst like the native public as well. So it was just like, regardless of where you went, you felt comfortable. The only problem we really had was it was no street lights, so we didn't know when the traffic was supposed to stop. So I was not, you know, coming from where I come from, you tend to feel safe. You tend to feel safer in different areas because it's not that certain you don't got to worry about the same things, kind of.
Gotcha.
And
And you're also not bringing that baggage with you when you
no,
travel. You know what I
no.
mean?
Mhm.
And that's amazing because it sounds like you're not the type of person that brings that trauma, brings that mental captivity of the North Philly experience to you wherever you go. Because you sound like you're the type of person that attracts the energy that you want.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's dope because I mean that's something that we need to repeat that for the people in the back because once you get to leave your borough, your city, your hood, it's different. You know what I mean? Not always better different, but it is a different experience that makes you appreciate one what you have and two appreciate that like things aren't always the same, right? Or am
Mhm.
I just speaking for you out of turn?
Oh no, no, that's definitely correct. Like you got to be able to separate where you at from where you're going, and people can't tend to do that in certain living certain lifestyles in certain cities. So that if you go into it with the fact that this is a new environment and nobody's on that type of time, I don't have to be on that type of time either. You won't invite, unwanted drama. So
Awesome, awesome. So where were you when the world shut down? Right, COVID is something that's been brewing for a while. We hear stuff all the way in China, but we don't think that's gonna come over here. And I'm gonna preface this with y'all Philly people didn't think or took or still don't take this thing serious. So I'm gonna start with, you know, where were you when things shut down, and what were your thoughts? Was it because I was talking to somebody else and they kind of, you know, brought it to perspective, just before you get to speaking, it's like there's a gravity of which the Philly mindset is. It's like, it's one of the murder capitals. And so most people are worried about a bullet before they're worried about a virus.
Exactly.
And so not to put words in your mouth and nothing like that, but like tell us where you were when everything shut down and what were your sentiments during that time?
So I was home actually. I was planning. I was supposed to go to Atlanta 2 weeks before the world shut down. My alarm brother was having his bachelor party out there, and we had to cancel it. But I was home in Philly, thinking, all right, they said 2 week shutdown, everything should be back to normal. Maybe we can go. But then that 2 weeks came, and then nothing changed, and everybody stuck in the house. Next, you got everything shutting down. It's like, damn, we can't do nothing. You got people going over to Delaware trying to get liquor and all this other stuff because everything was shut down. It's like, all right, damn. So you got stuff happening in Delaware now that usually wouldn't happen because all the Philly
Mm,
people in Delaware, and it's just like people felt like they was trapped. Like people felt like kind of like they, for lack of a better term, they was incarcerated and they had no
mm,
place to go. They couldn't do anything, and like people not used to sitting at home with their thoughts. Like you're not used to sitting in the house with just your thoughts and being aware of your feelings and people used to being active and moving around trying to mask how they really feel and they couldn't do that because the world was shut down. So
mm.
how I took it, I was in school at the time, so I was just focusing on class. Um, Also trying to like different things like different cooking recipes and stuff like that to stay afloat. I would go for walks to try to like for my mental health, like just try to do anything I could to like keep that sense of normalcy. Also different friends that would, come in and out in the safe capacity in my house. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
you try to stay as normal as possible while being safe because like I got older family members, so like they're like 60, 70 years old and
Right.
it was at risk and you don't want to, be the one that put them at risk because you being selfish. So I stayed put the whole time until August. And
So you mentioned people have struggling to like sit with their thoughts. Did you get a chance to sit with your thoughts and be introspective, and did you grow from it?
yeah, so I sit with my thoughts often. One thing I try to do is be aware of how I'm feeling and what's going on inside me, so I could be the best version of myself for myself and other people. Because I believe in manifestation, so you get back the energy you put out. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm okay with myself before I deal with other people because I don't want to be negative. Sometimes words hurt more than actions, so you don't want to say the wrong things to people. So I try to stay mindful of everything. So what I learned was, I mean, it's hard. It was just a hard time. My biggest concern was just like the whole not being able to get a haircut thing, like looking like it was just like looking
Listen,
rough. Like it was just like
listen. Let me tell you real quick. The first few episodes of this show, season one, all done over IG. I ain't got no filters. I wasn't gonna put no filters on. I was, you know what I mean? But I persevered through, and you know what? The content was more important than what I look like. You know what I mean? But I definitely understand what you was talking about.
yeah, it was just that was the reference aspect for me. It's just like damn, I can't even get a haircut. I could talk to people on the phone and ask for normalcy. I can go take a walk, something like order food and do all this other stuff, but I can't just look like myself. Like that was just the biggest part for me.
So now, I'm gonna go back to the statement I was saying earlier before you were able to kind of like expound on your experience. Philly, what's the deal, bro? Like, Philly was one of those cities that was like Philly was worse than Florida before Florida became as bad as it is today. And so, what was it? And I know you mentioned it, it's really a mindset of people in Philly. People look at Philly and New York are two different things, right? But if you look at it, everybody's on a grind. Everybody's moving. You know what? And stopping people stops their hustle. So, was that really it, or was it just like, the masses was just tired of everything else going around, and this is just one more thing?
So I do believe like so we had like a wild summer with on top of the pandemic with all the social injustice stuff and like Philly it's just always a aggressive in general. Like it's always some kind of aggression, regardless of who's involved. It's like you have to be on edge to feel safe in Philadelphia. And like you mentioned opportunity aspect of it. So like New York is bigger in the sense they got more opportunities and more people can shine and get their money and do all the other stuff. And Philly, them opportunities are kind of limited. Even though it's a big city, the opportunities that New York see is very limited than the opportunities that Philly see. So people need to say they try to take advantage or try to take somebody else's spot and it causes beef. Like I never thought in the pandemic we'll have the highest murder rate out of any city in the country right now.
Jeez.
Like
I mean,
In North
Philly.
Philly alone, we had 11 shootings in one night, and I was like, "What the hell?" Like, it was
I
nobody else.
mean, because
Yeah,
the stats at one point show Philly, Chicago, New Orleans, and a couple other cities were like top 5 murder capitals of the world. I mean, of this nation. You know what I mean?
hmm
If not the world. You know what I mean? Mass incarceration is increased. I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, actually, Camden was in there at one point as well. So, it's interesting because you would think that a city like this would kind of come together and try to figure out ways to make it work. But it sounds like the loss of opportunity created more of a dog eat dog environment, which led to an increase. Which I mean, of course, employment goes down, crime goes up.
yeah,
But outside looking in, this is the city of brotherly love, right? But how brotherly is the city when things hit the fan? Um, so yeah, I mean, I appreciate that perspective because I mean, you have some cities that decided, hey, you know what? Let's collaboratively follow mask ordinance, right? Let's collaboratively, find ways to support the community. Um, but when there aren't that many resources to start with, um, collaboration, I guess, is the last thing to think about because everybody's got to eat.
exactly.
Like you said, as big as New York is, some industries never shut down. Delivery services, food, and I mean, and you think about as big as Philly is, everybody can't afford to stay open or maintain COVID-19 guidelines to be able to stay open and continue to make money.
hmm
Um, we all know about when money's not coming in, what that leads to. That leads to, coping with your feelings and coping with what's going on through substance abuse. You know what I mean? And so that probably was at an all-time high in years. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I feel for the people of the city of Philadelphia and cities around the world that steal and suffer with that on a regular basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
all the looting was just like, it's
oh,
just
that was, I
that was,
mean, that was, senseless, especially in the black communities. You know
yeah,
what I
that was
mean?
crazy, man.
Philly was reckless. It was, I know, election night, they boarded up everything. For all the um um what you call it, announcements of whatever the juries were gonna go over this past summer. That was just like what I didn't understand is my mom lives in West Philly. We're there all the time. Philly is a food desert for the most part. And to go and take down the supermarkets in a food desert, where does that make sense? You know what I mean? And in
Right.
your own community, in like, I'd understand if it was like a Whole Foods, and I mean, I'm not saying anybody go do this, but I'm not saying if it's a Whole Foods, but Mr. Brown, he put a shop right in every hood.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Now, granted, it is a white man, but Brown's ShopRites are employing black, supporting black, catering to black, and those were ravaged the most because they were in black communities and they felt like we need to do something. But why do it in your own home? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
so I think that was something also big about Philly, and then, like I said, a lot of cities around the nation where frustrations were so high that I think common sense and decency kind of went out the window. You know what I mean? So I want to shift things back over to COVID really, and how are you able to adjust to the new normal? Like, what does your new normal look like?
um, prior to this PA shutdown, I was hitting the gym with a mask, of course. It's just everything was just like kind of back to normal before this new shutdown we got in place now. Just we got to wear a mask everywhere. Um, I was never really big on like large gatherings anyway, so that really didn't bother me. But I like going out to eat, so like going out to eat was like once that came back, I was like, all right, I'll wear a mask, set a table, take it off to eat. That's no problem. But
Gotcha.
my normal now, I mean, everything closed, so I'm actually probably gonna head over to Jersey later tonight and go out. But that's I'm trying to keep some kind of normalcy as I head into the new year because like I said, this mental health thing is very important, bro. But
Got you. So let's move on back to a little bit of travel information, right? So like with you mentioned earlier that you had some trips that you had planned.
mm,
Um does I mean, this is the obvious, but are you second guessing how you moving forward, as far as travel wise? And with that said, like, what are some things that you would tell somebody that's looking into traveling, domestic or international, to kind of get them started and kind of get them on the right path?
so how I plan on moving forward. Of course, you got mask up, and that's the rules now. But my thing is some airlines got the middle seat. They open up the middle seat again. And I can't rock with that. I need to be able to sit next to nobody, like just me. That's it. So that's something I'll look into. Also, my trips recently has been like more local. I went to Ocean City this past summer with my family, and I went to DC for a weekend. Other than that, I've been keeping it local for international purposes. I was supposed to go to the Bahamas for New Year's, but I canceled that. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I canceled that because of my move. I needed more time. But what I would suggest to people, just be safe. Please, social distance. Also, from a money standpoint, I mean, I know everybody like unemployment's at an all-time high, and nobody really has the extra funds. But if you plan on traveling, you could plan on funding it by saving some money. Like whatever income you get, and you could put like 10% towards a travel fund to make sure that you have the appropriate funds. So, um, just be smart, be safe, mask up, and follow the social distancing guidelines, and go from there. I know everybody's going to Mexico. I don't know how big I don't know how high their COVID numbers spiked up, but I would try to avoid those popular areas that that was
For
popular all
real.
summer. Like I know my
Yeah.
sister, she's about to go to
Tulum.
she went to Dubai. That was
Mm,
her yeah, big stepper. No. So, but she went to Dubai for our honeymoon, and she said it was pretty open over there. Everything was back to normal. We just had to wear masks. So
okay.
I would try to go for the less populated areas, and that's my suggestions.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So, what do you have coming up that you might want people to follow, or what's next for you?
Actually, so so I'm moving next week to New York. I have a friend out there. She's trying to get me involved in some beard model stuff. So I think that's next on the journey.
I mean, you got the beer game going on, so I mean,
She's
it
trying to
might
get me.
work. You know what I mean?
She's trying to get me involved in that. So we'll see how that goes. Also, like focusing on my career, working on my health. I'm getting a personal trainer out there in New York to help me with like boxing and everything. So um, yeah, that's pretty much what I got on the docket for me. Like, and also
Okay.
I'm planning some trips as well. I just gotta figure out where I want to go. Um,
All right.
but
Well, I got some ideas for you. Let's link up.
okay,
So tell us where we can find you, and what's your social handles.
okay. So my IG underscore just George one, and Twitter underscore just George. Also on Clubhouse underscore just George one as well. That's where you can find me at.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. Well, look, brother, I appreciate you for hopping on and really being open to sharing your story. Hopefully we can get you back on late in later seasons to kind of get an update to see how life's been moving post COVID. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.